Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And in this lesson, Lord willing, I'll keep it brief, but wanted to, make mention of a few things that I was observing. Now yesterday we, sure probably the whole world already knows by now, about the situation that went down at the Trump rally in PA, and it's being basically talked about everywhere. Breaking news everywhere. But one thing that I did notice was usually in these kinds of situations, when something like this goes down, you had a lot of sources that jumped on it, and even while the situation was still hot, you had people asking a lot of questions. Okay, some were saying, "Oh, it's staged." Some because of the X, Y, and Z. Some says, "Oh, this, that, and the third." And there were just a lot of people asking questions. Say, "Oh, how come you weren't able to do this? How come this was here? How come this person wasn't here? How come some people were pointing at this guy and nobody did anything?" Until so on and so forth. And that's the part I wanted to highlight in this lesson, which is that once upon a time, these elites, those that are the secret hand, so to speak, had a strong grip upon the minds of the people. Okay, once upon a time, the governments were stronger in their governmental tactics, okay, in the sense of controlling the minds of the masses, right? As when you break down the word government, and you have the suffix ment, which is short for mental or mentality, and govern, which is to control, right? So that is what they do, though they have it written in the reverse, as though the government is there to serve the people. In actuality, it's vice versa. But once upon a time, they were able to orchestrate similar events to what we see happening in recent times. And they were able to have next to total and full control of the narrative. And ultimately, it was because the Heavenly Father had said it so, to make the minds of the people very, very docile, which a good portion of them still are. However, even the even the ignorant, the those that are not the brightest, out there, are still able to see things now for what they are. And that's the problem. Now they can't just set up a situation and the mainstream media is running all over it, and they're like the overpowering voice. Now, because of alternative media, now those that were once labeled conspiracy theorists, nobody had to hear what they had to say. If something like this happened 50 years ago and 90, 80, 70, something years ago, a couple of decades back, and the kind of videos that are coming now on it were coming out then, a lot of people would just consider it conspiracy theories and so on and so forth. But now, even on social media, you have people, questioning things. And that right there is a problem for Esau Edom, because his two main tactics are the sword, which we've seen throughout history, and deception. Okay, like a serpent. If he doesn't have to strike, he'll try to camouflage and slither his way around things. But now it's getting to the point where he can't do that anymore. And he's running out of time. And guess what? These elites, they're not immortals. These elites, they're not omniscient. Okay, they're men that the Most High has put in a position to execute certain actions that will lead to the fulfillment of prophecy. So guess what? They also get nervous. Okay, they also slip up. And now they're starting to see that with time running low, with people waking up, with the word of the Lord being spread throughout the four corners at a more rapid pace, they now need to step up, the intensity of these things here. Because if the second, this was something that, like I said, wasn't really a small event in the concept or in the nature of what happened, right? Whether, they staged it or whether it was organic, the idea that a presidential candidate who was a former president, who was starting to gain traction in election year, very close to the election, just had an assassination attempt on him, right? That close. That is something that they could have, really, that's a big deal, right? But immediately you have people that are already questioning it, that are in disbelief. So if you execute some staged event that big and immediately people are already debunking it, they're already going into, this and that and this and that, eventually you start to see that you need to do more than just try to use deception. That control is slipping. That veil is being lifted. And I want to start there. And so what that means is eventually they're going to start to turn things around. And when they do that, it's going to be on a level where it doesn't matter if you suspect that they did it. It doesn't matter if you suspect that it's staged or not. It's still going to be that drastic that you're still going to be affected regardless. Same thing with this. It doesn't matter if they staged it or not. It's still going to accomplish a certain goal, which is a narrative. But when they start to orchestrate events that aren't just for a narrative, that are actually for life-changing, events that are going to be happening rapidly like that, people won't have time to try and do videos to say, oh, let me break it down to you as to why this was staged. They won't, because of how drastic things are going to be. Okay? Very soon, when they start to, really, bring the pressure from above and pressure from below, people are not going to have the time to pull out their phones and record or try to get on news clips and explain things, because it's going to be very bad. This is, let me actually go to the book of Isaiah chapter 25, verse 7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. See, and that veil of deception that Esau had used to cover the faces of these people, okay, that they couldn't see things for what they really were because of the lies, because of the deception. But now all of that is being uncovered, is being lifted. So he has a problem on his hand, and now he needs to act fast, and he's going to act desperately. Moving on, this is also in the book of Isaiah, chapter 47, verse, I believe this is, verse 12. And he reads, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. And that right there is almost in a taunting sense, right? Because, and it lets you know that this is something they had been doing from the beginning, the deception and using it as far as it would take them. But now it's not working anymore. Now those charms, those enchantments, they're not working as they used to anymore. They're not as strong. Yeah, you still have some people that are under it, some people that will try to fall for it, but now people are calling it out for what it is. So they're going to do something. And this time it's not going to be directed at just, political figures, or, it's not going to be directed outwardly. The shots are not going to be fired out in front of you so you can look at it and scrutinize it. The bullets are going to be coming at you. And then they're going to tell you scrutinize that. See, so because when they do that, you don't have to look, even if you see whoever, this is a metaphorical example, by the way, even if you see whoever is throwing something at you, it's not going to matter, because your main focus isn't going to be on identifying, oh, this person was the one who threw it. Your main focus is making sure you don't get hit. You're like, oh, shoot, you're trying to duck. You're trying to get out of dodge. You're trying to get to safety. And eventually that's what they're going to do. These events that you see, this here, right now, it's in a way where you're like outwardly looking in. You can look at it and say, oh, look, you see this here, point this out here, point this out here. But when they turn it on you, when they do something similar, but on a larger scale that they did back in 9/11, where now they do something that actually has a real, action to it, right? And people's lives are actually affected. whether it's a certain cities or whatever the case is, a grid shutdown, blackout, whatever it is, now it's directed at you. And they're like, well, whether you suspect that this was coming all along, whether you knew it was coming, whether you try to say that they did it or whatever, it's here. Now you got to deal with it, you know? So that's what ultimately, that's where the difference is going to lie, right? Because when those events start happening, it's going to be more than just knowing what's going on. Okay, now you know what's going on, but now what? Your life is in danger. How do you survive this? How do you protect your family? And that's where a lot of people are going to fail. They're going to fail part 2 of the test. Part 1, yeah, people are waking up. Yeah, they're being aware. But they're failing the next part, which is after being aware, what do you do? And the only solution out of this is to seek Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. You got other people that have other ideas. Oh, stock up on this, become this, do this, doomsday prepper and all that. And they're missing the most important part, which is to turn back to the Lord. Proverbs 18:10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. So when phase 1 is over, yeah, okay, everybody passes. Yeah, you knew what was going on. Now phase 2 comes, and what do you do now? Okay, you were able to identify and decipher these things, but now what do you do? You see, when there's a blackout, okay, you know who did it, but now what? You're still in the blackout. The food shortages, yeah, we've been telling you for months, years, that this is what they are doing. We've identified them, what their goal and plan is. Okay, you were aware, but now you still don't have food to eat. What do you do? Now they've declared martial law. They've suspended the Constitution. You knew, we told you this was going to happen. Okay, you were aware, but now you're in a state of chaos. You're in a state of an emergency. You got troops going around door to door, rounding people up. What do you do? This is the book of Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. See then that ye walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. And that's one thing about it. Like, you have people that don't even want to know and understand what's going on, because in their minds, they're like, okay, so what? What am I going to do about it? And it sounds like you're not even concerned with what you can even do when these things happen, because a lot of people's mindsets are not thinking that this is going to come back and eventually affect them. They're just like, oh, okay, it happened. All right, so it isn't until it's something that's like, oh, like, for example, the demic, where now their personal lives were affected. Oh, now everybody's looking into it. Now everybody's watching different videos. Now everybody got a theory. Not everybody got a solution. But when it's the steps before, they don't give a damn. Verse 16, redeeming the time because the days are evil. And that's the part right there. We know that the days are evil. Okay, because that's the purpose of the Lord. The beginning of sorrows, the beginning of great evils. Verse 17, wherefore be not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai is. And we know that right now his will is to bring that judgment upon this place. So we know that times are evil. And as a matter of fact, when you compare the things that are taking place in recent times to what's going to happen, this is nothing at all. Okay, it's only but a step that's leading in the direction of prophecy. Some of the most impactful and dangerous prophecies yet. Anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.